Okay, welcome to this video where we'll be doing a listening lesson. It is a lesson in that we will be stopping the audio, we might be going back in the audio, we'll be looking at new vocabulary up on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll be basically discussing things as if we are in a listening lesson. If you want an actual exam where you will go from A to B to C to D, all at the same time as a real exam, this is not the video for you. I would recommend that you get hold of this book. This is book number 16, test number 1, part number. Get hold of the book, get hold of the audio, and do the exam under exam conditions. Or you can look at some of my other videos. Many of my other videos, the purple colored ones on my channel, are for that style of listening, where you will do it under exam conditions. This orange colored one is more for listening, a listening lesson. Okay, so let's get started. Remember, we've got about 30 seconds between the end of part 3 and part 4. That's designed according to IELTS for you to check your answers for part 3. I think you should be maybe spending 10 seconds checking your answers on part 3 and going straight into part 4, because that's going to be your most difficult part, and this is going to give you a chance to look at anything that you might already know about the subject, any clues that you can get to get your brain ready to start listening about this particular subject, completely different to subject that was covered in part number 3, part number 2, part number 1. So it's this exam is checking if you're able to quickly switch to a completely different topic. And as you can see here, this one is about stoicism. Pronunciation for this word is stoicism. The Stoics were a group of philosophers, or yeah, I think their ideals were about being in the moment, focusing on what's... I'm not very good at this, but I think it was something to do with enjoying being alive and just appreciating being there. And even if were bad things happening, you were seeing the bigger picture and you were able to just move ahead and take life as it comes. So to be a stoic person, it means you don't get overly excited about anything, but you also don't get overly depressed or sad about something. You just accept the way things are. Okay, so what we can look at now is some of the useful words and phrases that might come up before we start listening to the actual test. Okay, still relevant today, still important today, right? Because if it's something appeal, so it's appealing. Something is appealing, something is, it is attractive. Attractive, and in this case, it's appeal. So this is a noun. So we need to, if we're going to use a synonym, it's an attraction there. Okay, and it's still important or relevant, similar meanings. Okay, now the ancient Stoics, we can see that that was founded. We saw this in part 1 of this test. Founded, remember, it means established, started. Don't get confused with the past tense of find. That's different. It's a different meaning. It was founded 2,000 years ago in Greece. Okay, the Stoics' ideas particularly or surprisingly well known, despite not being intended for... So a lot of people know, we talk about to be stoic about something is a set phrase. It's still used in the English language. So yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why they are so famous. People have used that expression before, a stoic person, or to be stoic about something. So it is well known, surprisingly well known still, because it's been in the English language, and it's not intended, not designed to be. So not designed for... You can take a guess here. I would say for the public, for the general public. Okay, we'll do that in red. General public. The ideas were not for the general public. And I don't know what's happening here. It's something appeal. That's a noun, that's it, so it's going to be an adjective, but what it is, we don't know yet. Okay. So Stoic principles. Happiness can be achieved by leading a virtuous life. Okay, so being kind and honest and loyal, generous. Virtue, yeah, is I'll put that word up in the top right hand corner. You can see what that means, and that's the adjective. Virtuous is the adjective of virtue. Controlling emotions, yes, so not getting overly excited about anything, but also not getting depressed or upset about anything too much. Epictetus. Okay, I guess that's I'm not going to be able to say this guy's name. He was a Greek man, so Greek name, said that external events cannot be controlled. Okay, but the people make in response can be controlled. So something that is made, so the collocation with make. So we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to it. But there's something. Okay, so I'm not really sure. What is a word that collocates with make? Because we don't say that the emotions we make, the reactions we make, it's weird. So the responses we make, no. And there's the word response, so it certainly wouldn't be that. So yeah, I will have to think carefully. What is it that they are saying? And of course, the word that you hear is the word that you put in there. Okay, a Stoic is someone who has a different view on experiences which others would consider as a different view. So I would say in this case it's something negative. Okay, so most people would consider negative, bad, upsetting, worrying. Okay, and they have a different view in that they will say it's just the way life is, and you can get upset about it or you can just deal with it. It's quite a Buddhist way of looking at things as well, and this obviously appeared in Greece rather than in northern India. Okay, the influence of Stoicism. George Washington organized a about Cato to motivate his men. About Cato. That's the name of the place, right? Can't think what could possibly be here. What does he mean by about Cato? Okay, well, it'll come clear to us when we listen. The French artist was a Stoic. Okay, Adam Smith's ideas on okay, Adam Smith was, if I remember correctly, again, activating my world knowledge, I think he was an economist. I think. And his ideas on something were influenced, so that's going to be a noun. Some of today's political leaders, okay, cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, is a treatment for something. It's based on the ideas of Stoicism. Cognitive behavior therapy, treatment for depression. Put it in red because we think that might be it. People learn to base their thinking on. People learn to base their thinking on. Okay, I'm not really sure what can I go in there, but we can, again, we can say that's going to be a noun at least, or a noun phrase. In business, people benefit from Stoicism by identifying obstacles as, I'm going to, oops, I said I was going to put them in red if I'm pretty sure that they're going to help us. So I reckon obstacles as challenges. I bet you that's the word they're going to use there. Relevance of Stoicism. It requires a lot of what would it require? Probably self-discipline. Should we try that in red? Oops, red, please. Self-discipline. Okay. Okay, and okay, that's it. All right, so let's see how we go. Of course, this is a listening lesson, so I'm going to be stopping, I'm going to be moving back, I'm going to be fast forwarding sometimes. Okay, but let's listen.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30.
Okay, 25 to 30. So in... Oh, sorry, we're on the wrong one. Okay.
Of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers to part 3.
Okay, and so now we're going on to part 4, so you'll have half a minute to check.
Part 4. You will hear a professor of philosophy giving a talk on the ancient philosophy of Stoicism.
Okay, so you'll hear it's again, part 4 is usually academic, so in an academic environment, and this is where you'll be taking notes. Okay, and often it's a lecture in a lecture setting. So here we can hear that it's a lecturer of philosophy talking about the Stoics.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Okay, so there's all of it. You basically have to cover everything here, which, as you can see, we've spent a lot longer than what looks like. Let's see, it's the end of that is 21:54, and the beginning is 21:54. This one is 21:45. So 50 seconds you have to read through all of that. So part 4, as we've always said, is the very tricky one. So let's have a listen. I'm going to move it forward because we've already spent time looking.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Okay, and I'm going to fill in the answers in blank. Okay.
Ancient philosophy is not just about talking or lecturing or even reading long, dense books. In fact, it is something people have used throughout history to solve their problems and to achieve their greatest triumphs. Specifically, I am referring to Stoicism, which in my opinion is the most practical of all philosophies and therefore the most appealing.
Okay, we've got the word appeal up here. So it's the most practical, therefore, because of its practical appeal. Okay. Still relevant today because of its practical appeal. Okay, and practical means it can be applied in real life. It's not just in your mind like much of philosophy. This is actually, you can apply it to yourself right now, and it will immediately help you to become a better person.
Stoicism was founded in ancient Greece by Zeno of Citium in the early 3rd century BC, but was practiced by the likes of Epictetus, Cato, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius.
There he is, Epictetus. There's Cato. Okay, so one of these people from before. George Washington, you should know, is only from 300 years ago, so he must have taken some idea from Cato, and now it makes more sense. Okay. All right, so they're surprisingly well known. So we're listening for something that says that they are surprisingly well known.
Amazingly, we still have access to these ideas.
So surprisingly, amazingly, so we can start thinking, okay, this might be it.
Despite the fact that the most famous Stoics never wrote anything down for publication.
Okay, public, there we got, I was quite close to it. So let's put it in first. Okay, it was not designed for publication. Publication, obviously you publish something, but it comes from the word to make available to the public, make available to the common people. So none of these things that they wrote down were designed to be sent out to the public. They were designed to be kept internally, or just personal notes even.
Cato definitely didn't. Marcus Aurelius never intended his meditations to be anything but personal. Seneca's letters were, well, letters, and Epictetus's thoughts come to us by way of a note-taking student.
Okay, so all of them were supposed to be much more personal, and the last one was students who were writing notes as he spoke. And that's how we have all this information about Stoicism.
Stoic principles were based on the idea that its followers could have an unshakable happiness in this life, and the key to achieving this was virtue.
Okay, we've got the word virtue here, so we know we know that we're covering this part now. We've moved on to this part. This is why I sometimes like to tick. Okay, he said that. I know where we are in in the text.
The road to virtue, in turn, lay in understanding that destructive emotions like anger and jealousy are under our conscious control.
Okay, so destructive emotions are under our conscious control. So we can consciously turn them off, turn them on. We can channel them. We can be aware of them. Just even being aware that I'm okay now. I'm angry, so I can watch myself. So it was controlling emotions was essential for the general principles of Stoicism. Okay, so now he's going to say the word Epictetus, so that's how he pronounced it. So as soon as he said Epictetus, in the next few seconds, we'll be ready to listen for number 33.
They don't have to control us, because we can learn to control them.
Okay, the general idea, also in Buddhism, I guess, is that we control our emotions rather than the other way around.
In the words of Epictetus, external events I cannot control, but the choices I make with regard to them, I do control.
Okay, make. There's the word make. I was listening for make. So the choices I make can be controlled. Okay, and there we've got the collocation. Make something. Okay, make a choice. Make a choice. Okay, and in this case, it's part of a relative clause.
The modern-day philosopher and writer Nassim Nicholas Taleb defines a Stoic as someone who has a different perspective.
Okay, Mr. Taleb has a different perspective. Okay, different views. So we're listening for 34 now.
On experiences which most of us would see as wholly negative.
Okay, and let's just double check. It says here only one word only, so that's quite important, isn't it? So wholly negative. I was about to write wholly negative, and WHOLLY comes from whole, and that's the adverb of whole is wholly. So unusual pronunciation and spelling, but that's how we say it. As completely, another word for completely. Let's put it in there so you know. So, but because we're only allowed one word, we have to put in only negative. Now that's the danger, isn't it? I know that very high level students might quickly, I've done this exam before, I know exactly what to do. They said wholly negative, I know exactly how to spell wholly because I've seen this video. And what do you get? 0 points because you didn't read the rubric. So it clearly states only one word is allowed in this part 4, which is unusual. Usually there's more than one word.
A Stoic transforms fear into caution, pain into transformation, mistakes into initiation, and desire into undertaking.
Okay, all useful words, but we're not going to focus on them too much. Okay, now it sounds like we're going on. The way his intonation ends and desire slows down a bit, and desire, whatever the word was, the last word he used. Okay, so it sounds like we're moving on to the next section.
Using this definition as a model, we can see that throughout the centuries, Stoicism has been practiced in more recent history by kings, presidents, artists, writers, and entrepreneurs.
Okay, so it's been practiced, it's been influenced, so we're definitely on to the next section.
The founding fathers of the United States were inspired by the philosophy.
Okay, George Washington, world knowledge, one of the presidents of the United States.
George Washington was introduced to Stoicism by his neighbors at age 17, and later put on a play.
Put on a play, okay? He put on a play. On. To put on a play, you organize a play, and a play is a theatre performance, okay? About Cato to motivate his men. So this would have been when they were fighting in the Civil War,
Based on the life of Cato to inspire his men.
or the War of Independence, at least.
Thomas Jefferson kept a copy of Seneca beside his bed.
Okay, that's not even mentioned there. Thomas Jefferson, both of these presidents of the USA.
Writers and artists have also been inspired by the Stoics. Eugene Delacroix, the renowned French Romantic artist, known best for his painting Liberty Leading the People, was an ardent Stoic.
An ardent Stoic. It's a nice word. Ardent. Comes from the word Stoic, so we've gone here. But to be ardent is to be a very strong, determined person. So an ardent football fan, an ardent fan of something. Okay, often it comes with a fan. Okay, Adam Smith, I think this is The Economist.
Referring to it as his consoling religion. The Economist, Adam Smith's theories on capitalism.
His ideas, his theories. So we've got the word theory here. Theories. Ideas on, there we've got the same phrase, capitalism, were influenced by Stoicism. Okay.
Was significantly influenced by the Stoicism that he studied as a schoolboy under.
Okay, so all of that on capitalism were influenced. So this is one of the easiest ones. They basically give you, except for the word ideas, they used theories, but everything else is exactly the same. So this should be quite easy for you to fill in. Capitalism. Okay, and that you know, Americans are classic capitalists and the Chinese are notional communists. So on paper, it looks like they're communists, but I think the North Koreans are probably more communists than the Chinese. Okay, let's carry on.
A teacher who had translated Marcus Aurelius's works. Today's political leaders are no different, with many finding their inspiration from the ancient texts.
Okay, so today's political leaders inspired by the ancient texts. Okay, carry on.
Former US President Bill Clinton rereads Marcus Aurelius every single year, and many have compared former President Obama's calm leadership style to that of Cato. Wen Jiabao, the former Prime Minister of China, claims that Meditations is one of 2 books he travels with, and that he has read it more than 100 times over the course of his life.
Okay. All right, now it sounds like we're going to be moving on to the cognitive behavior therapy, listening to his pronunciation or his intonation starting to go down, suggesting there's going to be a new subject.
Stoicism had a profound influence on Albert Ellis, who invented cognitive behavior therapy, which is used to help people manage their problems by changing the way that they think and behave.
By changing the way they think and behave, their problems. So treatment for problems, no. You'll never have a treatment for a problem. So we're listening for a collocation, a treatment for, and I put in the word depression, but let's see.
It's most commonly used to treat depression.
Okay, there we go. I don't need to type that all out. I've already written it. Okay, so that's correct. And number 38. People learn to base their thinking on.
The idea is that we can take control of our lives by challenging the irrational beliefs that create our faulty thinking, symptoms, and behaviors by using logic instead.
People learn to base their thinking on logic. Okay, and listen how he gave you the word logic is slightly longer, it's more stressed, and often those are the words that if you're not really sure what to put in, they're often the ones that they want you to put in. So if you just listen to it again, I'll give you an example of how he makes that word slightly longer, has a pause before. Okay. Let's carry on.
Used to treat depression. The idea is that we can take control of our lives by challenging the irrational beliefs that create our faulty thinking, symptoms, and behaviors by using logic.
By using logic. So he really stresses it for you to help you fit in the answer. Okay. Now, something about business.
Instead. Stoicism has also become popular in the world of business. Stoic principles can build the resilience and state of mind required to overcome setbacks.
To overcome setbacks. Okay. Overcome setbacks, obstacles, setbacks. So resilience, to be resilient. Okay, to become strong, to resilient and overcome setbacks. Those are the words he used.
Because Stoics teach turning obstacles into opportunity.
Aha. Okay. Oh no, why did I say challenges? Okay, yeah, challenges. A challenge is something that you need to try and overcome. Okay. So that's why I put challenge, but opportunity. Double P. Obstacles as opportunities. That's a tricky one. Maybe I would have got that wrong. I was going to put just opportunity, but let's check.
The business entrepreneur needs to learn.
Sorry, let's go back.
State of mind required to overcome setbacks. Because Stoics teach turning obstacles into opportunity.
Opportunity and okay, not opportunities. Although I wouldn't be surprised if you would also be allowed to put that, because obstacles teach them as opportunities. But you write what you hear usually, and in this case, that's exactly the word he used there. But you would get the mark as well if you'd written opportunities. Okay, the relevance of Stoicism. Let's have a look.
A lesson every business entrepreneur needs to learn. I would argue that studying Stoicism is as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago, thanks to its brilliant insights into how to lead a good life. At the very root of the thinking, there is a very simple way of living. Control what you can and accept what you can't. This is not as easy as it sounds.
Control what you can, accept what you can't. It's a very good philosophy, right? Help people to live a good life. It requires a lot of. Still, we need to listen.
And will require considerable practice.
Okay. Require considerable, a lot of. And so the word here is practice. Okay. It requires a considerable amount of practice, but Stoicism can help people to lead a good life.
It can take a lifetime to master. The Stoics also believed the most important foundation for a good and happy life is not money, fame, power, or pleasure, but having a disciplined and principled character. Something which seems to resonate with many people today.
That is the end of part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 4.
Okay, and that's the end of the whole test, right? And you have, did it say 1 minute? You now have 1 minute to check your answers.
Character. Something which seems to resonate with many people today.
So quickly, resonate, it means to well, it creates an emotional reaction in ourselves to the extent that we understand. It's not an emotional reaction, but it's from the word resonate. It means it also vibrates at the same frequency. The general meaning of resonate. So if I've got the same idea as the Stoics, I resonate with the Stoics. I agree with the Stoics.
That is the end of part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 4.
Okay, now you spend 1 minute checking your answers to part 4, plus remember you've still got 10 minutes at the end of the listening exam to move your answers over to the answer sheet, so don't forget to do that. Okay, so that was part 4. Trickier, obviously. It's to really check your ability here, and let me know if you have any questions about this. But I think there were no tricks. It's just you need to know your vocabulary, and that is why my course, the IELTS Step-by-Step Mastering Vocabulary course, or the Mastering Vocabulary and Grammar course, is still my most popular course on my platform, IELTSstepbystep.co.uk or on udemy.com, one of the two. Without doubt the most popular one, because people want to get good grades in their writing and their listening, reading and speaking as well, obviously. But these really help. Part 4, part 3 as well, but part 4 especially, a wide range of vocabulary really helps you to get potentially 9, 8. A lot of my students are managing to get 8 if they complete the main all skills course as well as the Mastering Vocabulary and Grammar course. Okay, let me know if you have any questions, as I said, and make sure you've seen the other parts of this test, parts 1, 2, and 3 as well, which will be showing on your screen here. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.